Fishing News is sponsored by these fine partners.
Oh!
Oh! Yes, Jim! That was awesome!
Oh, baby.
That was so good! Right off the bat.
Oh, man. Topwater yellowfin. Yes, that's how I spent my week in Costa Rica, putting the Penn Authority spinning reel to the test, paired with a Penn Carnage 3 rod. That rod, I believe, is out right now. But that awesome new Authority spinning outfit from Penn, sized from 2,500 up to 10,500, everything great for surf and back bay all the way out to the tuna grounds. That will be available coming up in September, and trust me when I say you're going to love this brand new reel. You're also going to love the July edition of the Fisherman Magazine, which is out this week. Yeah, I'm Jim Hutchinson, New Jersey, Delaware Bay edition. It is Thursday, June 30th, and right before this holiday weekend, I'm hoping that you are receiving your copy, I don't know, Thursday, today, Friday, into the weekend. For sure, you should find that July edition of the Fisherman Magazine on newsstands right now. You can just look for Jimmy Leone on the cover. A triple Rex yellowfin caught on a tsunami popper back, I said triple Rex, that was during the 2020 season, right? Well, 2021, of course, we had a great mid-range yellowfin bite again, and hopefully 2022 will shape up just the same. You can learn more about that on page 22 of the July edition of the Fisherman Magazine. Look for the article from Captain Jimmy Frieda of Shore Catch. It's called The Hunt for Topwater Tuna. He tackles the gear, he sets the scene, and he'll get you in on that topwater bite offshore this year using some of that, oh man, that high-tech spin class equipment right now. Think back 20, 25 years ago. You would have been hard-pressed to really envision going after tuna on top using spinning tackle, but that has changed. Just remember, as you're out there on the offshore and inshore grounds in the weekend ahead and in all the days ahead, don't forget the polarized glasses. They pay big dividends. Not just for eye protection, but also for spotting fish and wildlife in the water, and of course watching those explosive bites up on top. Now, I've had my share of lenses. Love the Costas. I've had Maui Jims and Oakleys. Started out with Ray-Bans at some point. I got my brand new Finors that I absolutely love as well. Well, I am here at Eyes on First in Atlantic Highlands, right here on First Avenue. Prescription and otherwise, if you're looking for lenses, these are some pretty fishy folks. They've been around here for 12 years. They've got probably one of the largest selections of Costas and Maui Jims in the entire state of New Jersey. They said 250 Costa frames and lenses, over 200 of the Maui Jims. And if you're looking for prescription or progressive, or you've got 20/20 vision, definitely stop in here to Eyes on First, Atlantic Highlands. Like I said, these are some very fishy folks. And those of you who run out of the Highlands, Atlantic Highlands, or anywhere on the Raritan, you know that for a fact. As you're donning those polarized glasses and you're looking at the mid-range season, now at this point in the mid-range season, I would have expected more medium bluefin in the mix. I would have also expected that giant trophy fishery. I would have thought we were going to finish the sub-quota at this point, but it seems that perhaps we have yet to rip the lid off that 55-gallon drum of whoop. Well, let me put it this way. Maybe we haven't. Maybe things are just catching fire. Case in point, the crew of the Mushin out on Saturday trolling sterling tackle Magnum Crazy 8 in zucchini black and purple. Jim, Zach, Mike, and Taz here took turns for 3.5 hours. Come on in. You can come. I see we're doing this at the location, but it's a busy location, so you want to head down here. They took turns 3.5 hours battling this giant bluefin on stand-up Shimano Tiagra 50 wide Kevin Bogan custom CalStar 40-100 class rod. Landed this 104-inch, 603-pound slob of a bluefin. Now, the folks over there at Sterling Tackle let me know that this happens to be a new Crazy 8 chain record fish. So perhaps soon, perhaps we can expect to see a few more of those bluefin on the prowl on the mid-range grounds as well. For sure, the gas prices that we've had this year have infringed on the recon. So a lot of people are asking, where's the bluefin bite? Well, all the folks that are always on the bluefin bite early in the season have already been on it. Let everybody know. So I got to think there's more of those bluefin around, perhaps in as close at some point as the Ridges, Manasquan, Barnegat, and certainly soon enough at the Bacardi and the Princess. We'll see what happens. Now on the shark scene, I will remind you that the mako ban is not in place yet. You know, when the government tells you in 2021, yeah, we're going to close down the mako fishery in 2022, I tend to believe them, but that's my mistake because I shouldn't. At this point, stupidly, I've taken the government's word on this, and we are in a process where the paperwork is going through the bureaucracy so slow. So no, mako sharks are still in play right now. The bureaucracy is quite slow. So just remember that while you can still land makos right now, you have that new larger size limit in place. That's 71 inches for the male, 83 inches for females. I will keep you updated here on our weekly update, as well as in the Fisherman Magazine, as soon as we find out word from NOAA Fisheries on that impending potential mako shark ban. I will let you know. But for now, no news is good news. That's as of today, June 30th, this morning. Now, you also have some thresher opportunities here along the coast. We just talked about a giant one out of Atlantic Highlands here last week. Well, the folks at Captain Bill's in Point Pleasant said, quote, shark fishing remains very good with a number of large threshers being caught, including a 472 pounder that was caught on Saturday. Forget about the bigger boat. This crew is going to need a bigger barbecue grill. Also saw too where our friends from Kraken Sport Fishing out of Point, they put a crew from Michael's Wounded Warriors on the threshers last week, and I think there's a lot more bunker around just off the beach outside the 3-mile line that we haven't seen so much of. So hopefully that thresher action holds up for a few more days, maybe in a few more weeks heading into July. Who knows, maybe throughout the entire month of July. I talked to a buddy of mine earlier this week about what he thought about some of those bunker and some of the tuna setup. He thinks that a lot of that has already moved off. Certainly there's a good sand eel bite now off of eastern Long Island. So let's hope some of those sand eels press in closer to the inshore grounds. And again, we've got our fingers crossed that they are going to set up those sand eels on the mid-range grounds this summer so that we can have another epic yellowfin bite in the mid-range grounds. Hey, also I want to remind you in that July edition of the Fisherman Magazine, take a look at Captain John Raguso's article. It's on page 18 of the glossy, How to Use Deep Diving Plugs Offshore. So no, it's not just the yellowfin, it's not just the bluefin, but don't forget about those bigeye and the wahoo, and of course some of those monster mahis that you can troll along the pots and along any structure offshore. Pick up that article in the July edition. John Raguso always does a fantastic job, but get into some of those deep diving plugs. Last note on the offshore game for this week, if you're entering the Beach Haven Marlin and Tuna Club's White Marlin Invitational, that's set for August 17th. But if you're going to be in that tournament, there's a price break that's still in place through July 1st. So if you want to save some money on the White Marlin Invitational coming up in August, log in to whitemarlininvitational.com. Get your registration in for that contest right now. The inshore game, of course, is mostly all about the fluke. It's the fluke, all about the fluke, right? It's the one fishery that I say to anybody outside of New Jersey, this is the drink, the straw that stirs the drink at the Jersey Shore. And someone locally was carrying a big straw out on the Raritan. Lucas Gomez brought this 12-pound fluke into the tackle box just down the road in Hazlitt. 12-pounder. And Phil said it was caught on a homemade splat jig with a 6-inch new penny gulp grub. Awesome fish, Lucas. However, it was not a dreamboat fish. So you fishermen subscribers, you can breathe easy because that 12-pounder is not on the board. But also in the North Jersey region, Akira from True World in Bayonne, he let me know that one of his customers stopped by the shop just the other day with a 9.2-pound rug that taped out at 28 3/4 inches. Angler John Mack of Fort Lee is a fisherman subscriber, and that is most definitely a dreamboat fluke. So again, that's good to see on these North Jersey grounds especially. This is the home to the doormats, so it looks like some of those big fish are starting to set up here on the Raritan Bay. Now, don't forget, of course, all the head boats are sailing out of Atlantic Highlands all the way down into Shark River, heck, all the way down to Lewis and Indian River Inlet. Folks are setting up for summer flounder on the wrecks and reefs all along the coast. As a matter of fact, Greg on the Big Mohawk, they just started sailing for fluke, I believe someday last week on their very first fluke trip of the season. Jimmy Lee and daughter Regan won the pool, very first fluke trip. I would expect that the rattlesnake, sea girt, and some of those bumps and ridges will start to turn on anytime, especially as these water temperatures start to go on the increase. Now, I also heard from Dennis Portland this week, who had a great day on the Gambler out of point, a 5.9 pound pool winning fish. It was taken on a 5-ounce Wonder Bread ball bucktail with an 8-inch pink shine gulp. You can also find that there's still fluke in the river there. You're thinking you want to go out to the structure. Well, there's still fish inside the Manasquan River, maybe in the Navesink and Shrewsbury as well. But I did hear from Denise Wigriniak. She was out on a little excursion. She showed her husband, Marty, how to fish, where to fish, and she even showed up a fluke. Said, Marty, this is what a big fluke looks like. So yeah, it's good to hear that those fluke are in the river as well. In fact, Skinny Water, I was finally able to splash my boat this week. I splashed her earlier this week. The road is in the water, so that option is here for the holiday weekend. So I'm not exactly sure if I'm going to be down in Great Bay or paddling around in the kayak in the upper stretches of Barnegat Bay. But those fluke are still in the back, so you want to take advantage of that while you possibly can heading into this holiday weekend. While I was at Chestnut Neck this week picking up the boat, I did see where Chris Costa checked in with Violet and crew with a 7-pounder somewhere on the local grounds there. I know, talking to Violet and Marianne, there's some weak fish in the area, typically at the mouth of the Mullica. Shedder crab, that's typically the way that you want to go, either anchored up with shedder crab, someplace in the Little Egg Harbor, Great Bay, Little Bay area. Of course, the plastic soaked in finesse shedder oil will always work. In that same area, heard from Dave at Absecon Bay Sportsman in Absecon. He said there's still some stripers in the area as well. So we find out bluefish, striped bass, fluke, and weekies. There's your grand slam. But that is a good idea as well, and it's good to see some of those stripers in the back along the sedges and sod banks as well. Keep Dave in mind, as a matter of fact. I did mention the shedder crabs. Dave doing all his work with shedding those crabs. You can get some soft shells for the holiday weekend ahead, perhaps, but you also might want to put some shedder crab pieces on a jig head if you're looking around for some of those sheepshead, which we'll talk more about in a couple of minutes. Now, out front there in the Absecon Inlet area, Brigantine, Atlantic City, Noel at One Stop, for example, said there's a bunch of kingfish in the surf right now. A few good weakfish he mentioned on the jetties. Most of those weakfish sharpies are fishing at night. Pink zooms, pink bubble gum, those pink plastics. Meanwhile, Andy over at Riptide Bait and Tackle said the local fluke bite out back is still producing. In fact, he had Ben and Nolan team up to catch this one in the back bays of Brigantine using gulp. Well done, boys. You notice that every time I talk about a fluke being caught, it's typically the same baits, the gulps, right? Make sure you've got your gulps and your fish bites stocked away for this weekend. Head out to the tackle shop and gear up. You can still wrangle a few flatties in the back bays of Central and South Jersey. I mentioned that. A few of the notable catches in the Cape May County area in the last stretch of several days include George Blissetto with a 26-inch fluke caught behind Stone Harbor, half-ounce jig head, 3-inch gulp grub. Mark Romalino of Williamstown, he checked in with Sterling Harbor over the weekend. 4-pound, 13-ounce flounder caught from his Hobie Mirage Pro Angler kayak on a tap dancer rig. Yes, and a gulp. And the big weekend ahead, of course, but it was a big weekend this past weekend for the folks out at Grassy Sound. Congratulations to Jacob Canna, Egg Harbor Township, nabbed top honors in the Grassy Sound Flounder Tournament over the weekend, 6.8 pounder. He also caught that on his kayak. Now, Jacob missed out on the $6,000 total prize for not being in the Calcutta, but I understand he was happy all the same, just as he should be. If you're gonna join the tournaments, make sure you get into all the Calcuttas. You gotta be in it to win it. Gulp and fish bites, I'm telling you, you can't leave without them. I did mention big weekend ahead. We've got the 3-day July 4th holiday. I'm sure it's going to be a busy one here from Atlantic Highlands all the way down to Cape May. It's one of those weekends where everybody comes and that island just starts to tip a little bit over to the eastern end. But while it's going to be a busy weekend here at the Jersey Shore, I know it's going to be busy out west in the mountains as well. For a little freshwater update, let's check in with my friend George, the Pocono Outdoors guy.
Well, hey, thanks, Jim. You know, coming up on this holiday weekend is going to make fishing a little bit of a challenge. We have lots of people in the area, so getting to your favorite recreational area could be a bit of a challenge, guys. But there's lots of things you can do. You know, you can fish early, you can fish late, you can go night fishing. There's lots of opportunity. Also, get off the beaten path a little bit, not just at the state parks and such. I was talking with folks like Chuck Manny. Yeah, he took a break from the tie man out in my area by the Delaware Water Gap. He said he's hitting a couple of those lakes for the bass, and he's saying he's stalking them, walking the shorelines and tossing in a small Kayak sight fishing in gin clear water, and that's been producing real well for him, even in high pressure areas. Now you can go up and do some other things like my friend Rich Bates going into deeper waters. You're going to jig up some of these crappie. You know, they're not as affected the deeper you go with the fishing pressure, and you can do that as well. Also, you can go over to Jersey with like my friend Jen Wong and go out there and hit topwater for that reaction bite. And if you can find some of these ponds or lakes that are not as pressured or being used during the holiday, you'll be able to score some fish. So guys, no matter what you do, you fish early, you fish late, just get out and fish. From Pennsylvania, I'm George, your Pocono Outdoors guy. Have a great holiday.
I mentioned summer visitors at the shore. Well, more and more sheepshead are arriving in local waters, specifically Atlantic and Cape May County, but I expect them in the Southern Ocean area as well, the Great Bay, Little Egg area. I would remind you, of course, that it was a stretch just a little farther north of there where the state record sheepshead was caught just a few years ago. So those big sheepshead are starting to come in. I would love to see them show up here. Some of the rubble and old bulkheads along the Raritan Bay. It looks like prime conditions. But again, sheepshead has become a burgeoning fishery here at the Jersey Shore, and we are getting some good reports. In fact, Scotty Sevens, he had a good one. I think it was around the Ocean City area, but that is a good sign of yet another newer option to be had if you're fishing in those back bays. And at the time when fluke seems to turn off and head to deeper water, it might be time to put a crab or a crab piece on a jig head and give yourself a shot along some of that local structure. Hey, listen, speaking of South Jersey, if you're out and about in the Avalon area this holiday weekend near the football field, the ICW marker number 384 is damaged to the point that you yourself could get damaged very seriously if you're not aware of this. This is a message from the folks at CTO. We appreciate that, but hopefully this lower unit killer is fixed by the time you watch this video, and certainly by this holiday weekend ahead, because that one's going to be one to watch out for. Again, that's the ICW marker 384 right there near the football fields in Avalon. You know, in his Beach Talk report this week, our intrepid surf reporter Nick Honachewski, that's in the July edition that you're going to pick up. Well, he noted that he had a reliable report from surfer Sam Hammer, I assume somewhere along the Ocean County stretch. Sam swears he saw a school of false albacore pinned inside the sandbar. It's possible, but Nick also thinks if they're not false albacore, that possibly they are the bonita. So maybe some of those exotics have shown up here at the Jersey Shore just in time for the holiday weekend. I can tell you this though, Lewis Harbor Marina just reported this week that Captain Austin of the Savannah Lynn put his crew into some nice sized Spanish mackerel. And Amanda and the folks at Lewis Harbor are already recommending, look, if you're going to go out, they still have sea bass open, they still had sea bass open, but anybody going out along the inshore reefs and wrecks off of Delaware, Amanda says take those Clark spoons. That's something to keep in mind too here at the Jersey Shore. And also back to what Nick said, if you're out and about hitting the suds this weekend looking for fluke, sort of like Mark Peterson here, he's the assistant commissioner, site remediation at the DEP, bucktail and some fluke at Island Beach State Park. But if you plan on hitting the beaches this weekend for fluke, don't forget a couple of tins. Take some of those smaller, thinner, deadly dicks, the slim waves from Tsunami, maybe the epoxy jigs, but be on the lookout for some of those terns flying up, you know, that looks like they're keying in on something. That is a good indication that maybe something's underneath it. Could be a bluefish, could be Spanish mackerel, could be the first of the bonita, but one good turn always deserves another cast. Speaking of exotics, let's check in with my friend Ben Gilmore, not Gardner, I keep screwing that up. But Ben is in Capos in Costa Rica. He'll let you know what that action's all about.
Hey guys, checking in from the Marina Pez Vela, Costa Rica. This week's fishing report sees roosterfish here along the beaches, rocks and islands close to Capos. We've had some beautiful roosterfish in the last week, up to 40 pounds. Further offshore, we've had some really good wahoo fishing. We've released wahoo in the last week up to 60 pounds. Some really stunning wahoo, 40, 50, 60 pounders. Really nice fishing. We've had yellowfin tuna in the 30 to 50 pound category, and the sailfish bite has been pretty good as well. Just yesterday, my buddy released 8 sailfish. Hope to see you here soon, guys. Back to you.
Sadly, this week I want to offer condolences to the Ebley family and to all my fellow anglers who have had the good opportunity to either work or play on deck with one of Captain Ebley's trips. Captain Charlie Ebley passed away last week, the former owner-operator of the Doris May of the Searcher 2 out of Barnegat Light. Of course, he was running the charter boat Robin Ann out of Barnegat Light. The Doris May became the Voyager out of Point. In fact, Charlie was doing a lot of the captaining on the Voyager after Captain Jeff passed away a couple of years ago. So again, my condolences there. Charlie was a great guy. He will be sorely missed, and to all his friends and family, God bless and fair winds, Cap. On a less somber note, this weekend, this is one of the special holidays here in the United States where it's not about a somber tone. It's not about a memorial. 4th of July, Independence Day, is all about celebration and happiness. As John Adams said, and I was going to call him Captain John Adams, John Adams said, the great anniversary festival should be commemorated with pomp and parade, with shoes, games, sports, guns, bells, bonfires, and illuminations from one end of the continent to the other from this time forward and forevermore. Or as he said in a letter to his wife 246 years ago, through all the gloom I can see the rays of ravishing light and glory. I can see that the end is more than worth all the means. Well said, something to take with us in this current political climate that we have in the USA today. God bless America. God bless each and one of you. Enjoy this holiday weekend with friends and family. Fish hard, stay safe, and I will see you again next week, July, our first report of July 22, right here at thefisherman.com.
In Dreamboat news, the fluke fishing has picked up, and so have the entries. This past week, angler John Mack from Fort Lee, New Jersey, weighed in the 6th place fluke at True World Tackle. And angler Timothy Burns of Seaford weighed in the 7th place 8.7 pound fluke at South Shore Marine. The leaderboard remains the same. The Dreamboat Fishing Challenge is the Fisherman subscriber-only multi-species fishing competition with a chance to win a new Steigercraft 23 Miami powered by Yamaha, along with many other great prizes. Subscribe now to the Fisherman Magazine to be part of the action.
Hey everybody, it's Dave Anderson. I'm just going to give you a quick rundown on what's going on the Coastal Kayak Clash this week. This week we only had one fish entered. That was a 25 1/4 inch weak fish, which is good enough for 3rd place in the category, and that was entered by Eric Lopez. The leaderboard has not changed. Justin Oster is leading with 13 points. Mike Radzaszewski is in 2nd place with 4 points. There are a handful of others with 3 points. Still a long way to go. Lots of fish to be caught. Let's see what happens next week.